Bill, do you know? If different road department was coming? No. Ready?
I'm ready. Make sure you've got we're unmuted in the chambers.
Got the truck there.
Right, that's wrong. Uh-oh.
Check. You're good.
I'm muted.
One, two, three, buckle my shoe. Great. All right, and we are streaming YouTube, yeah. Good,
Think so.
think so? All right, so it's 10:03 and it's 11/4, November 4th, 2024. Thank you. Minimize this since we're all here and don't have any remote participation. We'll just watch our agenda. This is the GIS Policy Committee for Graham County. I'm Matt Sanceros. I'm the IT director. I'm also the chair of this committee. Last meeting, we appointed a couple members. Vice chair is James Murphy, the GIS specialist, and secretary is Kenny Gordon. He's also the IT support tech here. Just run through quickly who we have in attendance. We've got Dan Stenta, Ben Musselman, Gene Nelson, Jenny Swenson, Amy Weiser, Peter Charles, James Murphy, Lucas Blake, Bill Hulse, Kenny Gordon, Quinn All, myself, Matt Sanceros. Starting off here is a couple of things. Just want to do a quick overview presentation of this policy committee again. We've had a bit of staff turnover since last time that we met here, and last time we met was in May. This committee, you guys all have access into the Google Share for this. This essentially was initially it's kind of like an internal working committee group. But this also is a result of the enterprise GIS planning effort that was done several years ago. In an effort to kind of centralize and make sure that we're getting resources to everybody for any of your GIS needs. That's certainly morphed into a number of different pieces, including James' position, the purchase of an enterprise license agreement for the county, the way that we centralize and push out data and some of the other stuff that we do here too. This committee is supposed to meet quarterly. Would really like to try to get back onto that schedule. Formally, this committee is just of county members. I don't have the bylaws right in front of me, but it's essentially department heads, elected with Gina, Bill Jackson, Sheriff's Office. These are the voting members of the committee. But this committee really is much more, like I said, of a working group. Although the attorney, when we did create this, because of the fact that this committee can come up with recommendations to the county commission for funding, as well as, for other resources and whatnot, they felt it best to be an open public meeting. So this is an open public meeting, hence why I'm being so much more formal than I ever am. That being said, I would encourage you to look through that Google Share. It does go over a bunch of the history on this, all the bylaws, everything that's in there. I don't want to get out in the weeds on any of that kind of stuff, but I would just encourage you guys to get in there and take a look at that. This committee is formalized by an ordinance passed by the county commission. And that's, ordinance resolution. It's resolution 3094. That establishes the committee and what we do here. That being said, this is a presentation, but if anybody has any questions, like I said, we have some new people and otherwise that haven't been around. I'd be happy to get into it, but just know that this is an open public meeting. I'd like to just try to keep a high level overview now. Does anybody have any questions on the purpose of this group or what we're doing or any of that? Cool, moving on. Within the next one, we've got approval of minutes. Approval of minutes. Does everybody have a chance to look over the minutes from May 28th? If you were here and part of that meeting.
Yeah, I looked over it and I took some notes on it since the minutes seem pretty accurate that we went over the address committee, and that was kind of getting it back together, and we have members of that, we have Bill Holtz, John, I think Gina would be probably taking his role right now. And let's see, and then Jenny and Lucas. The purpose of the addressing committee is to solve address problems that pop up in many various forms. Most recently, there was
Before you get too far out on that,
sure.
this is just the minutes. Is there something you want to modify in the minutes?
No, all looks
From last
accurate
meeting?
to me, yeah.
Is, I was gonna say, I'll add in the word of, there's a discussion about rebooting the address committee back then, maybe?
Yeah.
Just to conceptualize.
Sure.
We'll go over the actual, what's happened since here in just a few minutes.
Okay,
Does anybody else have anything else that they want to approve or change, update on the minutes from the last meeting? Did you get a chance to take a look at them at all, even if you weren't here? As a chair, I don't think I'm supposed to make a motion, but since it's trying to be Robert's rules, I need a motion to approve the minutes.
Make all motion to approve the minutes.
Cool, Lucas moves, seconded by Bill. Everybody in favor, raise your hands.
Matt, do I have a voice?
You do not, Jennifer, I'm sorry,
Let's make
but we love having you here. Thank you.
sure.
And again, I encourage any kind of input from any of the cooperating agencies from Westover, from Moab City, any other agencies that I'm not really even thinking of that potentially are within our boundary of Grant County or neighbors, so they're always invited to this meeting. So certainly have people come back. And again, I just want to stress the point of the whole purpose of this committee is to create technical committees, and those technical committees are then asynchronous in how they go about doing whatever their task is or whatever the need is. And so as we go through, this is discussion items and reports from tech committees. The last time we went through, our last meeting, we dissolved several of the tech committees because they had finished what they were doing. They've been published, they got done what they needed to. We did add back in, just for context, like James was mentioning, the addressing committee, just kind of a rebooting type of an effort there. Publishing web apps and department office operation needs. Again, back in May, it was kind of a reboot of this whole committee. We were supposed to meet, follow up on this meeting in September. I apologize, we didn't get that one. So I'm trying to catch up with a bunch of that now. So as far as discussion items and reports, do reports first on committees that we know of. And those last ones that we talked about was addressing committee. And the members of that one were John Cortez, Bill Holes, planning and zoning, James, Jenny Swenson, Lucas. I will give it to you, James.
sure.
What was the effort that was done since last?
Since the last time the address committee spoke to each other, there were a couple issues that came up with consistent address values when it came to giving new addresses to parcels. So I recreated the addressing grid that Moab has been using since the late 80s and 90s, and I digitized that so anyone can go on a computer in the recorder's office and grab an address value from that. And if it falls within the address range of all the other points around it, we can pretty easily generate a consistent reproducible address value with that. Some other issues where there was an identical address on Roberts Drive. To resolve that, we just started implementing prefix directions using north and south Roberts Drive address values that seem to resolve that pretty easily. And besides that, there hasn't been too many address issues. With the dispatch, there were some questions about the Grand Oasis addresses. And they weren't showing up properly on the base map. So to kind of mitigate that, I created a separate address point map that the dispatchers can look at. And it also gives them a Google Street View of the address they're looking at, so it can help inform officers of some in real life. I don't know, reference points that they can use to get to the right place that they need to be. And something that came up recently, Bill was asking if we could put address values on final Mylar plats. I don't know if that really falls within the address committee role or not, but something to do with address points, so I thought I'd bring it up.
Address values on
So,
final,
Subdivision plat.
Subdivision plats,
plats,
yeah, just to help
just on final, basically.
yeah, just on file, it's in an effort to help Bill out with performing inspections and working with other contractors. Nothing has come up with it yet, we're just discussing it at the moment.
What's your thoughts on that, Lucas?
yeah. If you are yourself,
I don't know, but long or somebody gives it to me.
I don't know if it's realistic for the, you are county surveyor, so you may have some interior or internal help to come up with the address, but someone outsider, how we gonna make sure that they put the right? I mean, it's kind of a challenge. I don't know how it can be practical.
Well,
Yeah, usually if we get them from somebody like in the plat review process, I'm sure surveyors will have a problem putting them on there, but
Yeah.
that's just an issue for it. It's kind of hard to get back address for it. But
What happens is the final plat gets recorded with no addressing on it. They come in the very next day looking to pull building permits, and we have no address. There's no address in coins. It doesn't correspond with iWorks. So we thought if there was a way to get it, even if it was through the recorder's office in BRT, final plat, they come up with the addressing scheme for that subdivision, then it can get recorded on that final plat. And it has everything it needs on there.
as long as there's no issue ever with like addresses changing, I guess.
So,
That's my
so-
issue.
so guys, like, again, just for the sake of what this purpose of this
Yeah,
meeting
this
is,
isn't the
right? This is not the
committee.
point that I don't want to get into the nitty gritties of any of this kind of stuff. We can
Yeah.
sit here and talk for hours, so we're blue in the face about addressing. That's why we have you guys on this committee. So please, I appreciate the effort that's happened so far. It sounds like we're working on a good movement. I would encourage you guys to get together and have, by the time we meet next time, an update particularly on how you guys are going to have whatever operation that works for placing address, when addresses go, what point that's DRT or however that works for you. I fully support you, but you guys work it out. But James, you're the lead of that committee. I know that you'll, I'm sure, follow up with everybody here.
I'll keep on working on it.
But yeah, I think you guys are doing a great job on it. And I think that's something that we really want to get out of that committee, is very simply is a great procedure of what it is that we're doing for addressing. Because again, like I said, we could talk to our blue in the face about addressing. We know that there's issues with addressing all across different points throughout this valley. And I'll make good efforts to get there. I personally love that we're getting away from the Holy Scroll and some of those things. And that we're updating to more of a modern setup for it. So unless there's somebody you guys want to get into any other kind of high level on addressing or any other reports since last. The only kind of, and again, I just want to kind of keep it to minutes. Is there an expectation from anybody on or a general agreed point of where addresses should end up in the process, like where they should be appointed? Should it be DRT? Should it be at some other time, P and Z? I don't know, should it be part of an approval? Like, have you guys? Has there been one that's been floated kind of higher than another? And these discussions, I've seen a bunch of like, no.
It sounds like we need to
Talk
have another
about that.
discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
It seems like it would be best at that final plat, like you said, because there's so many times that a subdivision comes in and you might, there's signed addresses and it never happens until it hits that final plat.
Mhm.
Yeah, ideally it would be like right before the final plat is approved, I think, or in the final plat's approval process.
There, is it in code who has the statutory authority to assign an address? Is
It's a
that
great
the
question.
recorder's office?
I haven't found where it said that.
From where I remember in the past is that the address authority is the recorder. But that's because you're assigning
If somebody
subdivision.
mentioned it with surveyors and I looked like state collect.
I can,
That's what-
Have like a full-time survey staff.
And that's what I'm gonna ask you, like, you'd know better than I would, I hope either one of you.
I've been looking because I can't find it either.
Other
Cool,
places
Bill.
Other places I've
Bill is
worked,
running late.
I usually the recorder, but I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of departments that have to coordinate addresses on campus.
No, I can appreciate, Bill's point on that, like, it makes it tough when somebody buys a property, turns around and then immediately applies for a building permit on it, and they're trying to, and there's not.
In
an
the
address
past,
for
it's
it.
been a long time before addresses and parcel numbers were assigned for sure. I feel like that we can get it done and get preliminary addresses, preliminary parcel numbers. And maybe not get them on the final plat to record, but by the time the final plat is recorded, we will have some very good ideas that, and try to shoot for what we have for the preliminary parcels and addresses.
Cool, I'm just gonna make a
That's
note
what-
that at final plat is the preference.
Yeah.
If we're gonna call it that. Cool, so we look forward to hearing more update on that in the first quarter. Does anybody else have any other discussion on addressing you want to talk about real quick? Next one, this is a standing item that we always put on there, and this is publishing web apps to end users. Last time we talked about, sorry. We did Bill Jackson, James, and P and Z for a web app of user-based internal use type of a web app. Apologize, I don't recall exactly what the pieces of that, but we have made several different internal use maps since we've met. Since we're all here and we're talking about them, does everybody understand what this is about? Web apps, publishing web apps.
Interactive data online.
Exactly, interactive online data. Within our licensing, we do pay for enterprise license agreement here. That gives us 10,000 credits of our GIS online every year. It gives us unlimited licensing for desktop uses, pro pieces, just about every extension that you can think of that Esri does. I can get it for you, as long as you're county. Tried to get the city, but your manager at the time didn't do it, and Esri is locked down on it now, and they can't give it out to anybody anymore. But if you're county, you're good. But all of the stuff that you see on our website is web apps, parcel viewer, zoning maps, voting maps, any of that kind of stuff's ArcGIS online. Is there anybody that has any other web apps that they're in need of, or that would be helpful, or that need updating, or massaging, or some other piece that I need to throw some resources at?
In the recorder's office. I would like to be, I'd like to be available online with all of the information from the recorder's office, and we're working on that, so.
And that's kind of a web app, I'll throw it in here, so publishing. Recorded documents.
Yeah. I guess that's a good way to put it. For now.
Are you gonna do it fee based or?
Well, I
pay
just,
$80 a month for something?
what's San Juan, $80?
$80 a month, yeah.
And do you have to pay for copies after that?
Well, no, we just.
You do your 80.
There's the way there's a setup set. Here.
Well, I just got off
We
the
can
phone.
Get off there, you know, and all our own.
Yeah, I have just barely got off the phone with John Singer.
Cool, so that one sounds like Gina's gonna be on that one. And Lucas, you're gonna be on that one. And James, you're gonna be on that one, because you're right there.
James is on all of them.
On all.
Just put his
Yeah.
name on them all.
And I'll be on that one, because I'm sure I'm going to get pulled into extrapolating how that works somehow. Publishing recorded documents is a web app that we're gonna look at. That's the group. Anybody else want to be on that group? Biddy? And I'm not really we'll approve these here in a minute, so that's why I'm just throwing out names. Good. Any other web apps anybody has?
Not a web app, but I'd like to talk about maybe like a policy regarding new web apps.
I love policies.
I just would like. When someone requests a web app or even a PDF map for them to give me some sort of document outlining what their end product would look like and what they want it to accomplish. I get a lot of people that come up to me and ask me for interactive maps or PDF maps, and they kind of want to figure out what they want through the process with me instead of having a complete idea in mind.
Absolutely.
Are you trying to bring me up on in this?
No.
There's a lot
Call
of
out.
guilty parties around this
I mean,
table.
let's just be straightforward.
No, not you, no.
I'll bet you're not the guilty party.
The other
So
Yeah.
I love the discussion on, as we could work through here, there is a piece in here to talk about, you know, mapping request procedures, the expectations, and that kind of stuff. But I agree, it'd be nice to have some sort of a, you know, policy, just, you know, policy here, even if it's like a checklist, it might help people work through their issue. That one, James? You're on it.
All right.
I'll be happy to be on it with you. Anybody else want to be on that one?
So I never speak up in these meetings.
Good job, Bill. So Bill's on that one.
Crazy enough.
Anybody else? Cool. So no other new web apps that you guys anticipate in the next quarter, 3 months? Anything anybody's struggling with? Field collector apps? Things out in the field, things to do. No? Next one on this was storm drainage. Storm drainage, we named on this one, Dedar and Bill. You guys have a report on storm drainage from last time?
Well, I don't recall what we're on there for, other than I think it was some collaborating maybe with UDOT as well. And trying to figure out what's going on with that. Some of them are draining. That's all I know. I think most of them are on UDOT property.
Do you recall Dedar of those?
Yeah, and also maybe we need to include irrigation company too, I think, because most of our drainage in the city is used by the irrigation company, so the same line, you know, utilized by two entities. So I think we need to include irrigation company as well. We didn't done too much of a work, to be honest, on storm drain. James and I, we working on share our data. It's like I do have counties, water and sewer GIS data, but I don't think you guys have our data. So we work on that, giving James our data.
Yeah, what's wrong there?
But you've got the county's water and sewer data, you probably don't have up to date because they
Yeah.
don't own it, we do.
Before you get in the place, you know, for data, I got
Yeah.
that time, and then that's it.
So static
Latest
at
I
that time.
I mean, I don't, if someone is asking like data, I don't never give your data. Yours
Yeah.
is just as a reference for me, internal use, so. Usually, they are pretty correct. We don't include a lot of water sewer.
Any other update on storm drainage you guys like to go over? Good. Next up on this discussion list is James, we're talking about department office operations and need status. And this one is just a discussion about data sharing and policy regarding that. So it's kind of a good segue of what we were just talking about there. You guys are just talking about drainage systems, talking about sewer, water, public works, that. I kind of love having the mix of people that we have here at the table, particularly with Moab City and Whistler here. Do you guys feel like you're getting the communication and tools?
Well, I didn't know we
collaboration
had,
between-
but.
What's that?
When we need it, yeah, I've been able to, but
When you need it?
I didn't know, I mean, James has been helping me a little bit because. I don't know how to share all this stuff. I don't have a problem sharing it for internal use, but we don't publish. Water facilities,
Yeah, nor should you.
being first homeland security issues and like that, so they are protected data.
Mhm.
So I got a question for you, Ben. So we just did some potholing and GIS, GPS stuff there on Spanish Valley Drive for that pathway. Did you already have that? GPS locations of those utilities, and if not, do you want them?
We are always updating. A lot of what was drawn in on our GIS was. Like I told James, it's a geographical misrepresentation because it was a guess. We are going back, we have a field collector now and we're reshooting, moving things and moving pipes, but. That area specifically, yeah, we should have had all of that because it was just replaced.
Right.
I think it was fairly accurate and I do believe I provided that to you, didn't I, Dan?
Yeah, I think there was only one that was on either water or sewer, it was for the purpose of the elevation.
Yeah. We
On
don't
on the
have a
on the
lot
water
of
line.
elevation data.
Yeah,
We do on a sewer line, but not on a water line. just
We
get
did.
very depth.
if you're interested, we did find that old cast iron city transmission line
Oh, yeah.
in a couple locations accidentally. I can share that data with you if you're interested in that. It was more lower down towards the.
Will it be removed with your storm drain installation? If
It's not the plan, it's fairly deep.
So again, the point of this, just to pineapple back, it's about just data sharing.
Yeah,
I just want to make, and the reason I bring up the two of you guys, is there anything that we can do as the county to help facilitate or do anything that?
Yeah, so let me tell how's our policy. So first of all, I put a form on our website. We can do a map or a data request. So instead of just a map, we can have some data. And in that form, I ask the user, what do you need or what are you gonna use for? So it's give me an idea of what they're gonna do, or what layer they wanna see. So they choose whatever I have on format. So a lot of time, like you mentioned that people come to you, ask you something, but they don't give you enough, so you start working. And then you just constantly changing, so I create that form and I can track end of the year how many map and data I gave it, who did I give it. So I don't give the whole data set anybody except if they are working for us, or they doing some water improvement, they are our engineers, but we don't share with our public. So if they looking for the data, we just get a mini city, so we just like a screenshot of wherever they're interested in, we get that one. But we just give city water, sewer and storm drain, that's it. We don't give Brand County data, we always tell them, reach out these companies or entities for more data. So we're talking about the data sharing policy. I think another thing we need to tackle, we're doing at the city now, to collecting data too, because we are sharing data, but our data is strong as you collect good data. The challenge is like as built, when we improve our water or any utilities, or there's a subdivision, do they give us their data, how that happens? So like at the city, there is no code for subdivision. They have to give us an as built. So when they improve the public utilities, they don't have to give us the GIS location. We go collect that data. So we are updating our code so we don't have to do that. So I think I would recommend the county to do something like that. So
Yeah,
like when you have a project, water project, like if that's how it happens, I get as built, so I can just update my maps accordingly. But the subdivision, like a private ones, is kind of challenge. I cannot ask them because I don't have a code for it.
well, I think that the county, we do ask for as-built, but of course, we don't get the water, sewer or irrigation. I don't know if you get the as-built. But oftentimes we don't follow up with that and make sure we get, you know, any red lines or the as-built, which I think we need to do better. So, you know, as a whole, it's a county, I've never heard of as-built on something. Yeah,
It's a requirement in the code.
yeah, it is a requirement.
Cause I've never been asked. so-
Well, it's usually,
Yeah,
it's
we
usually
we
just
have-
on it's usually just on the storm drainage improvements for the county stuff.
Could we clarify what as-built means?
Yes. So. is
Because
that
sometimes
what
it
we-
changes in the
yeah.
field from what the actual civil plans call out.
Also, you're not asking like.
So if you have to make a,
Points. It's.
you know,
So if something goes off the final
Yeah,
plan, they have
the
to
shape
update it
files.
and
Just like a red line.
Okay.
That's the old red line.
Not only.
No shape files.
Yeah, you can think about the elevation too, that inlet of the sewer, where is the invert, like all this information. There is a plans, but usually field doesn't fit on the plan, so they do change. At the end of the plan, the projects, they should give you, I usually ask for CAD, so I can see everything, or the GIS, shape file of data. And I got like yours.
Yeah, one of the issues, I guess it's an issue, I mean, limitations, I suppose, like, we don't have public works in the county. We've got Bill, the roads and bridges, and then Wizard really takes care of everything else, I think, as we carve that out in special service district, so. You know, as part of why they ask, like, if there's any, and we'll talk about Wizard very specifically here in a minute, but just if there's, I just wanna make sure between you guys, particularly with your SCADA systems, your water systems, and otherwise, you guys have all that security and the sensitivity of what those systems are, and want to make sure that if there's anything that you need from us to help advocate for you, if you need hardening of those systems, particularly any of your transponders, anything that is made by John Blank also, it's an Israeli company. Any of your transponders, basically valve controls, pieces of stuff that's out there, these things are able to be hacked for security concerns and other stuff like that. Want to make sure you guys have whatever you need. So as that works, as you guys go, please don't ever hesitate to reach out. We're happy to facilitate as best we can. Even if it's just you know, backing up and securely locking these things so that disaster recovery kind of stuff, you know.
Recommend one
Yeah.
thing, maybe, when you have projects, make sure the as-built being built in the bid. So any water sewer projects, if you put an item for as-built, then you will get your as-built from any of the projects. You, yeah. That would be a good suggestion.
Anything else anybody wants to talk about data sharing policies? Next one I put down is a GIS data fees and schedule adoptions, if we want to even talk about this. And I'm gonna lump these two together. The next one after this is out of band GIS map requests, procedures, expectations, discussions. Really what I want to get after with this, all of this is within our fee schedule, we obviously have fees in there coming out of the recorder's office mostly for production of copies of maps and various things. I don't know it right off the top of my head intimately, but I want to say you have an hourly rate for map work even possibly too.
We're both flat.
It's a flat, yeah, they're
Yeah, it's
by size and.
$20 for a 24 by 36 inch map.
And that's
$10 for an
$50.
18 by 8 or 18 by 18 inch map. And then $2 for 11 by 17 and 8.5 by 11 maps.
Is there,
And
Is there an hourly rate for something in there?
No, but there's a difference between what James does with his GIS maps than what we would do separately. So there's two separate costs to his as opposed to his.
Have you been selling any road maps?
Any roadmaps? No,
Okay, I just.
No, it's basically stolen.
no. If you wanna start a roadmap making business now.
But the GIS fees, I don't really want to get out into your
No.
fee schedule or anything like that, but if you want to update your fee schedule, you only got a couple of days to get it into
Yeah,
these guys to,
I'm
so you're good
reviewing
with
it
that.
right now.
But I wanted to talk, just again, very briefly touch on it. Do we feel it might be prudent to add some sort of a rate in there for GIS rate of James? Time kind of thing?
I charge $20 flat for a lot of maps, but I do wanna update like $50 a map and $75 for GIS. That's our futures. It's like
Say it one more time.
$75 for GIS layers, like a shape file or anything, and $50 for maps. That's what we gonna.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like kinda taking the parcel data and cropping it to an extent and adding little things here and there like dimension lines, but not really like creating any data.
It's more reference.
Just
map
kind of
kind
annotating
creating.
things, yeah.
Peter, is the $50 for the GIS time or is it $50 for the printed map?
Not the, we're looking for flat and just for the data is a shape file or however you like your data to be received. So if you're looking for a $50 map, it doesn't matter if it's printed or it's a digital, because it's just our time is to create you a map is $50. So if you want to print, we will print for you, but if you're not, it's $50. And $75 is for the data. So instead of just a screenshot of your data, you have the whole set of the data with all the features in it.
Do we have GIS fees on our fee schedule? That's all for comment right now.
That's why I'm kind of bringing it up here. So if it's something that we need to possibly consider, then
I can say I've seen the recorder's office charge, upwards of $1,000 for tax roll data. And GIS data is very similar to tax roll data.
Correct.
I think we need to update the fees for.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we were kind of looking at the same metric and if that data is worth the same amount as tax roll data, we could.
So that,
Charge
Alicia
more.
sent out the fee schedule for comment probably
Yeah.
2-3 weeks ago, so
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
due tomorrow.
probably is.
I think it's the end of this week. It's very soon. Again, I just wanted to bring it up. It doesn't really sound like there's a big need or push to really try to add to what our fee schedule is. We just gonna have to come along with justification of what all of it is. And this late in the game, it's kind of a bit, but just as it can in your head, I'm probably bring it up next year again. Have a better idea of what we're doing as far as providing stuff. The reason I love these two together, is because it does get into what I call out of band GIS map requests. Procedure for them and expectation discussions. Deidre, I appreciate you bringing up that you guys have a couple of requests on your site on how to go about requesting data. I think that's a great place to start as far as trying to streamline some sort of a policy per se on, what we're asking to come out of there. Because that's one of the biggest frustrations that I have is that we'll have a user come in, whoever that might be, from the public or staff or whomever, and they have something in their head, or whatever it is that they need. And they expect IT and GIS to have a magic wand of interpretation and knowing expressly all about their project and what's going where and when, like. They can do that with all these things without the expert. We're just here to provide the data and kind of help it out. And so as far as the out of band GIS request, I mean, I'm more than happy to, allow, the use of James. I think that's part of his position is, he is to serve the entire county, and all departments and otherwise. I very politely and gently ask everybody to just work through the process, at least copy me on any of these requests that are happening, out of band kind of thing. And know that it probably will get brought up at a policy committee like this later, if it is expending effort. Again, part of this, I want to make sure that we're getting whatever the project is done. And that we're getting the resources to it done. It's not just sitting out there with a million different workarounds to it. And so to that statement, does anybody have any concerns, questions, or misalignments of what my view of what we're providing as GIS is and what we could be doing differently or otherwise?
Want to just open a little with this, why it's important to, let James know what are you gonna do with that map, or what is the plans? Because James gonna create you a map or a data, depends what you use. So if you're using for a monitor or a screen, he may choose a different color or a different size versus the PDF. If it goes to the newspaper or for a couple seconds, or or a TV, those are all different. Or as someone is internally used, how many people could be a colorblind versus if it's going to the public, there's more colorblind, so you need to pick those colors. All this depends on, our work is how much you give information us, so we feed the right direction, and then you can use the right presentation, the right formatting, right size. That's why it's important.
And one of the other problems I have too is, and problems I guess, is that we pay James to be the GIS specialist, the steward, to help provide this kind of stuff out. Don't pay him for analysis, right? I hate when requests come in of like, hey, take these two different data sets and tell me why they're different, and go. Like what are we supposed to do with that, I really appreciate, like, it needs to be kind of like a narrow focus, I hate when people come in and you bring up roads. Roads is one of those data sets.
Probably the one
that
you get the
gets-
most requests for.
Well, it gets interesting because, we have so many different pieces of land, and we have so many different categories of roads and subcategories of those roads. And with different agencies having their piece into it, they look at things differently than we do sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's all about communication. I want to try to keep those, lanes open as best we can. But I hate when somebody comes in and says, here, give me the entire county and show me all of the differences between all of these 5,000 miles of roads, including all of the whatever term you want to call that road might be.
Designated.
Exactly. I mean, and again, I'm happy to do it, but let's just measure those expectations if we want to look at a particular, section of this county and, for whatever the purpose is. Cool, let's do it. Just know that that working group's going to be something that's facilitated through here.
That's just
And,
what I was gonna ask.
Yep.
If
And
you
then
want that, I think it should come through this.
once it reaches a point of a kind of like project type of level where you've got multiple people collaborating on it,
Yeah.
it's a known thorn. It's something that's we need to fix. We know we can streamline it. Let's bring it up here. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
I think
no
so
hiding
too.
behind any of them. But again, I'm not gonna beat that horse too much on it, but does anybody have any questions on that expectation or kind of how those out of band requests go? One other question I will have is, and just reading statutes between the two of you, is who provides it? Because reading yours, it says that the surveyor is supposed to provide only maps. No, maps is again, a different term, right? I mean, we can. The
Well,
report
it's
provides
kind of an
data.
interesting thing that we set up when I started, because I don't have an office at the county, so I can't.
Exactly. Do you need an office at the county?
Right,
Then I'd have,
can't hide
and I
behind
need
that.
more of a budget to
So-
hire a
so-
full-time person to be there.
So seriously, that's part of this committee. So
Yeah,
like,
I mean, we could hire a deputy chief surveyor or whatever that, or. I mean, depends on what the county wants to do, like how much.
what you want to do, you're an elected official,
Well, yeah,
what kind of resources that you need from the county.
Well, what would that look
Get
like?
to you.
what's that?
What would that look like?
So most counties up north have elected county thing, and then like, I don't know how they are now, but I know Charlotte County had like a chief deputy licensed surveyor that actually worked, and then
Okay,
their elected officials, kind of like me, work for Ensign, an engineering firm. So a lot of counties just have elected person, and then they have a full-time staff, how big the county is, and how much they wanna spend on on survey and whatever.
San Juan
So
County
Ben,
used to have three
when you
positions.
were with this,
Yeah,
with
San Juan County has a
San Juan,
lot,
were they like that?
surveyors do a
weren't they?
lot more,
Yeah.
a lot more stuff.
Although
Everybody knows more than-
the elected official was just, that was his whole duty, was county. He wasn't prior, now I guess with Brad there, he just does his own thing.
Yeah, so they still have, so, and then San Juan County does addressing, so I think they have like a full-time person for addressing, and they have a full-time.
I think they do
deputy
signage too, right?
surveyor, and
You used
they
to.
have Brad, that's just part-time, kind of.
Those can be my only comment to any of those, is that once we start comparing ourselves to other counties, particularly with the way that we're operating in GIS land, I guess, if you want to call it that. And that's one of the biggest things I've ever learned out of working with all the other counties, is that every county, although we're all amalgamated to the same thing, every county does it differently.
Well, yeah, survey is like way different from every county.
And the responsibility that gets pushed onto each particular elected official in those various counties or into special service districts in some regards, like everybody's different, you know, so it's hard to look at an apple to apple across the state, you know. But I would like to know like how, what's your thought?
Yeah, I
on
guess the
providing
insight on that would
maps?
be is just how much people want, how much departments want survey to do. Like, and then I'd have,
What's your interpretation of providing maps to requests, the way the statute reads,
well, it's just, it'd be just survey maps.
just survey stuff?
Yeah, so records of surveys, not GIS maps, that's different department, but it'd be records of survey maps, it technically is, so subdivisions, all that stuff gets recorded to the court's office, but it's records of survey maps and county or monument tie sheets is usually what other counties only, or, and that's in state statute, what surveyors keep at their office. Or
I apologize about my naivety on it, but like, do you get a lot of those type of
a
requests?
record of survey is like, so if I went out and did a bound, so legally, if you establish. A surveyor establishes or reestablishes a boundary corner, they have to do a record of survey map on that property. And that's what you're recording, and then they have county or monument tie sheets, which is the BLM or public lands surveys section corners.
I'm just asking how often of a request does that come to either of you, if like,
Well, we have all those online.
let's just say they'll publish, so.
So I have put them available to public online on the county surveyor's website, and we also have subdivision plats, and then we have a link to the tax search that the treasurer's office or whatever put up, so.
And
So we
again,
do try to have that available to public, yeah. And I do get requests every once in a while for tie sheets, and usually I send those to the state's website, has all of our tie sheets on it, like the ArcGIS or whatever.
What was John doing with the tie sheets that? Do you know? Was he giving them to you for the tie sheets?
We got a bunch of them, we were contemplating doing a bunch of stuff with them, but.
So when you say tie sheet, you're just talking about like different coordinate systems for the
Section corner monument tie sheet, so there's like a document that has like, so once the county surveyor, or sometimes private surveyors will do them too, as you go out and survey and find the monument, section corner monument, do a tie sheet, you like describe what monument's there, and then you can give tie monument, or like a fence post like 10 feet away from it, you can give a tie to that, and then you also give the lat long coordinates and probably state time coordinates on the tie sheet too. So surveyors will pull those up, because then if we're out
This is
looking
just
for a monument,
yeah,
you get
it's
the
just
coordinates
record.
on it, you can go find it
Find
easier.
So
So,
you send yours to the state.
um.
Do you
So,
record
yeah, we would
yours?
give them to the state, and then, when they get filed, like, John has like a stack of them.
They get recorded and then
Or just filed, yeah.
the tie sheet records the tie sheet.
Oh, does it?
He files the surveys. They file the surveys and record the ones that are recorded.
Hmm.
Which eventually make their way to the state, but
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, so those get provided to the state, and they get put on there.
So when you say provided to the state, what's the entity in the state that they get provided?
It's the what's it called now?
GRC.
Yeah,
UGRC.
so they have like a map On there, you go on there and it comes, it's a GIS map and it has little dots of which ones are recorded. You click on the dot and it comes up with the date and by 11 scan sheet or whatever that high.
It's all part of the public land survey system with the
PLSS.
townships and ranges and all
Part
the
of the
sections.
tie, is that like the legal description? Or just,
Tie sheets,
just the tie
it's just a
sheet? Okay.
latch and latch recording usually, and some of them are old, they don't have that, so they don't really give you much help other than just saying like.
Where's
this
that?
fence? Yeah, it just has like a little sketch of like,
Gotcha.
there's a fence and the road's here or whatever, and this is what it's at and what it is.
Yeah.
So at least tells you what you're looking for, I guess, but the newer ones, yeah, they like have very accurate coordinates.
Well, I did wanna give you a kudos for your office. I really appreciate you guys taking all the time to take all the stuff, push it up onto the website and organize it, index it, and build it
Yeah.
up. Like, it really does come in handy for a lot of people. I really appreciate you guys taking the lift over the years to do that. So, thank you. Cool. Anybody else have any other discussion on map procedures requests? No? Moving on. So moving on, we've got just an update of what I'm calling informally adopted committees, and these are things that have come up since our last meeting, and calling them informally because, you know, we've had, you know, some staff meetings here and there about them. I'd like to call them out here and make sure that, again, we're getting pieces aligned for those. The first one is P and Z zoning administration. Again, I want to keep this very high level. I know there's some issues going on with zoning. But I want to remind everybody that if you're not familiar with the land use code, part 3 very specifically says that the zoning administrator is responsible for updating the zoning map. Amy, thank you so much for being here. Amy's the zoning administrator. If anybody has any questions or otherwise, please direct them to her. We have had a very light discussion on looking at the zoning layer, on how to best move forward. Still collecting data. Correct me if I'm wrong in any of these. And all I was gonna say on this one is there's Amy, myself, Gina, James, and I think a member of your staff was on there too. And that's really all the committee is really at this point. Unless you want to speak to it any more than that.
I'd like to add the code states that, both the recorder's office and the planning office are supposed to keep a copy of.
The recorded copy.
Correct.
If
So,
it's not recorded, you can put it.
sure.
Yeah.
So I just wanted, Gina and I are gonna work on, how we best do that and coordinating that. And, we are hiring for a planner right now, and I have, I'm hoping to find a planner with good GIS experience, so that's something we're hoping to get. And, we'll move forward. We're hoping to get some of that resolved early 2025. We're all extremely busy right now, but it's a big priority for the planning department. And so, my goal is to get all that, worked out with all the departments by early 2025.
Great. So it's a high priority.
Yes.
You guys want to get done, and I know we all want to.
Move on.
So,
Maybe you update your GIS and home zoning and county limits.
I currently do not, James does. Yeah.
what was that question?
She was asking if I update the zoning map currently. I said I currently do not, James does.
There hasn't been any updates to the zoning map.
Well, sorry, I meant the GIS map that's
Yeah.
online. Yes.
Yeah, and again, that's a web app that's published, and the data that's presented in that thing has been approved by the powers that be. James isn't creating the
No,
zoning
no, I
map
mean
or
the
anything like
rezoning,
that.
right? You get some rezone every once in a while, right?
Yeah, when we have a zone change, that information goes to James currently to update the GIS. Thanks.
Have you always been updating for planning?
Yeah, that's kind of how it's been since I've been here. I've had resolutions handed to me and I try to update it with annexations or,
But in coordination, absolutely, with P and Z.
yeah,
Every
usually
time that there's. one
I've gotten
that's-
notices from them like, hey, I haven't seen this updated on the GIS policy map and then I'll go forward and update it.
So on that one, again, these are just, tech committees. I encourage you guys to get together on that one and, keep working through that, when we meet next quarter. Hopefully we'll have new staff on from P and Z and we'll be able to have, some nice updates on the way that's all progressed. Just for clarification, Amy, you're leading that tech committee, if that's okay with you.
Okay,
I have Gina on there as well, James and myself. Is there anybody else that would like to be on the technical committee? Cool. Next one is CAD grid map. If you're not familiar with CAD is computer aided dispatch. It's something that our sheriff's office uses intrinsically every day. This effort is something related to a request from the sheriff's office wanting to break up that CAD mapping so that geofencing can happen appropriately for things. There's a 1, 2, and a 3 grids. We're working on pushing that in there for it. We have talked about this. Needs to get kind of kicked back and rolling down the hill here again. James, you're familiar with what I'm talking about.
Yeah, ultimately Sheriff Wiggins, he wants a service that will track when he's inside of national park boundaries, private land, things of that nature, and then he wants reports auto-generated with the CAD map that tells his officers when they've done a report in that area or they have not done a report in that area to help appropriate funds correctly. There's been a couple, well, yeah, just kind of needs to be worked on more.
Yeah, I mean, we need some better definitions on what is what and what goes where. And then we make sure that all you dispatchers and your deputies and everybody's happy.
You just to know where their location is, for like if they're doing work inside the park or something.
Yeah, so every time that they respond to an incident out in the sticks, particularly if they're responding to, say, like BLM, could be misspeaking, like, because of the fact that we have a federal resource that is now utilizing our local resource, they need to pay.
Yeah,
for all
absolutely.
of it.
They will have MOUs or
No.
agreements.
And so without having a hard, like, yes, this was a geofenced absolute, they coded it. The officer, yeah, they probably could have done like out in the field and, took a waypoint when the incident was happening.
And just give it the Onyx app. It'll do.
Well,
Pretty simple.
that's part of it. It's already built into their CAD system. Otherwise, no reporting to there. There's no reason why we can't have it just say, yeah, they actually did roam or they did patrol in and out of that area. Because if you can give that to them, then ultimately gives kind of more money. And as he's presented it to them, even though it's a validated column that we know that the incident happened there,
Right.
BLM's like,
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah. So
Interesting.
hence why that's there.
I get.
I should have been better about reaching out to trails on the non-motorized master plan, the GCAP thing. I put this in here as an informally adopted committee because she is going through and trying to make an assemblage of trail data. With the new position, temporary position, I guess, is a temporary position.
Yeah.
What that effort is, what the whole outlook on it is, I'm not totally sure, hence why
I haven't heard.
I'd like to be able to make a committee on it, make sure that, again, it's just getting. For right now, I'm gonna put Maddie on that, she's not here. She's not really a member of this, but she needs to be. I'll put myself on it so I can follow up on it. This is trails. And they're non-motorized master. Somebody in this room probably can speak a lot more intelligently to this than I can.
So they got a UDOT grant for updating this plan and, doing more data intensive, GIS intensive stuff that's starting. That's this temporary position is just basically the coordinator for this grant thing, and they've got significant funding to undertake this effort.
I don't know that anyone's been hired yet though, correct?
I think they just did ours.
Did they?
Yep, and that's on a vacation to Japan.
Yeah, I can tell you, I started working on the trail data set with Katie while she was at Vista. She was instructed by Maddie to start compiling Trail Forks, Strava, and other citizen science trail data websites. And try to make a more complete trail set for our county. And Katie started working on it. I was showing her tips on how to compile data, and I'm not sure where it's gone since then.
So one piece I might note on that one, I do appreciate you bringing it up. She was working there, you know,
She's working on.
I think I have a copy of her data.
I was that on to the, whoever's doing.
They hired Katie.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
oh, okay,
we
gotcha,
hired her.
Yeah.
Different type, yeah.
okay,
We'll figure it out through the committee.
okay.
Just one little note I will throw about, you know, gathering data. Deidre, you touched on it earlier about, you know, data collection. I want to make sure that we're collecting data that's actually relevant, and otherwise we don't want to use it for official purposes. Maybe that's just me, and I don't think the crowdsourcing data is necessarily the greatest thing to be determining who's traveling on whose piece of land or where, or what makes a trail or not, but.
Official or not, I had challenged mine, like if anybody asks me, you know, a trail map, I hesitate because I don't know if they are official or not. There are some
Exactly.
trails that shouldn't be, you know, shown on the maps. It's complicated. I'm glad you worked on it.
And that's why I put it in here, or just make the note on it, is that, you know, as we build out whatever these data sets are in these different requests. Part of this is I'd like to come up with, you know, more standardized attribute tables and what's more. The trail data as it is has been very haphazard. I don't know where it's come from. I don't know if it's been personal pieces all the way to something like Strava, or if it is, you know, an official, you know, Utah noted trail system. It's hard to say. Yeah, but I know the trail data that we have right now is haphazard at best, and it doesn't show like property ownership and that kind of stuff on certain segments, and so that's one piece that I want to ensure through that is that whatever this work product is that comes out of here is denoting, you know, where
Yeah,
this data came
I'm
from.
gonna guess that a lot of that came from, early on in trail mix, you know.
And that's what I'm saying, is a lot of that data has,
And
you know,
Jeff
been,
Reithry was pretty accurate with it, but, you know, like I said, he had back then what he had.
Yep. and I was gonna say, it's not bad, and I have all that data, it's all waypoint data, some of them are connected, some of them are not, it's kind of haphazard, and like I said, every attribute set is different.
Yeah.
So, it's an effort, I'm glad to see it working. But I put, like I said, Maddie and myself on that, James, you're gonna end up being on that too, I'm sure.
From my point of view, I think if you're collecting data, there should be a standardized procedure. The device you're using should be noted down, if not being used universally between everyone collecting the data. And I'm kind of with you, Matt. I don't think using a bunch of different crowdsourced services is the best way to go about it. I think it's a way, but I don't think it's the best way if it's gonna be coming from a government agency, putting it out to the public.
Exactly. Well, again, won't be that one too much, but we'll have
Put
it.
me on that one too, if you want.
You want it on that one, Quinn? Way to speak up, man. All right, anybody else?
I'll be on it.
You'll be on that one?
It's trail, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the non-motorized
That's
master
my
plan,
hobby, so,
non-motorized.
well, one of them. Motorized.
As long as you got some wheels on, sorry. Cool, I'll send something out on that one, just following up with Maddie and otherwise, and to the group on that, we'll see where it goes. A general discussion on current GIS requests or needs. Just to kind of, in interest time, run through these: road data source review and WISA collaboration are the last few that we've got here. Not to lean past it, but in the next section here, we will have some action items, for upcoming current other stuff. We've already talked quite a bit about different GIS projects and stuff we've been working on. There's been several that have been created here in the interim. Is there anything that's needed
We have a,
hasn't been brought up yet?
we have good data on maintained county roads.
Yes,
We do now.
we always have.
Oh, we have.
What do you mean do now?
That's the data in the world.
Just ask me, I can pull it up.
Like, do they have like numbers or they?
Yeah.
Because the old map size numbers.
Oh, no, every road's numbered. Some of them are, unfortunately, unfortunately, some of them actually, some spur roads, but they're in the same area, but they're numbered the same. Which is not necessarily ideal, but
Yeah,
Like I said, there's certain areas, that's why I ask, like, when people are, I mean, you, whatever you want, but like with data requests from people, like, give me a scope, give me an area, right? Because of all of those kind of things, like you have spur roads, little pieces that, in particular, if you're talking with BLM, they might not recognize that piece, or, you know, it's, and so where that data is coming from and who's, that's one of the pieces that I really want to work towards of when we present these attributes. It's like, yes, this actually came from a county GPS unit and we know that that was there. Or, yeah, that actually came from an extrapolated version of BLM something or somebody's, or you, or, you know, whatever it might be. Not saying it's wrong or bad, but yeah, just so everybody's on the same page. Any other like outstanding needs? And the reason I throw this one on here is that in our budget meetings, as they've happened here, I've had a few different commissioners say that they've had department heads and elected officials and otherwise come up to them with some sort of GIS need. They need to hire people on that. We need to hire people to get this GIS thing fixed. As I've gone around, I've gone through all of these things, and I mean, we all work together on this stuff every day, guys. I don't know of any big outstanding needs that haven't been brought up here. Does anybody here, please be candid? I did reach out to the assessor's office, because they were called out in a budget meeting for needing GIS something. I don't know what, they don't know what that means either, so, again, as you go about and you hear people asking for some sort of mapping or GIS need or something, please feel free to forward in my way, let them know that this committee exists. I really want to put it on there, make sure that it gets taken care of.
the only thing I see is partial lines not lining up where they should be, but that's not really a GIS issue.
It's the aerial image like at the back, so it's just the aerial image at the back is was shifted, right? Because of Google it, what we've seen, that has error. If you fly the drone, it's hitting the pretty good spot.
Yeah, well, maybe, yeah, the parcel maps are, that's why they have surveyors, but.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, the parcel fabric that we're going through, it's, as you said, there's some errors and things that are getting corrected as we've gone through. You know, when we first started this one, after Bonner left and Frank came in, yeah, we looked at a lot of those layers and overlaps and big extra areas, and there's cleanup in all of the data.
Yeah,
That's always gonna happen.
that's not really anything GIS, that's just what I see from public is like, well, they expect when they hire a surveyor that you just have these magical coordinates, you pull out those corners off them, like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was all done 100 years ago, most of it, so.
Cool, but again, if you guys ever do, please encourage them to speak up, be more than happy to a lot for anybody's stuff. The next one, just road data source review, you guys touched on it just a little bit there. I wanna, you know, look at our road data, a little bit more in depth than we have been looking at it, I guess. Particularly when we start comparing it to BLM routes. And making sure that, you know, we have a good line of communication open between the BLM and us. And that if they're going to be out doing BLM things in the backcountry, post hole diggers and chains, then it'd be nice to let some people know sometimes. And making sure that whatever data source that we are running off of here is really what we're after.
But what you're up against, if you don't mind me speaking to it.
No, you're on this
Not
committee,
too
so.
in-depth is a lot of times, you get different, ideologies of who has actual ownership of those roads. You know what I mean? And, you know, my take on it is, the counties and the cities and the state of Utah has equal partnership in every road right of way claimed by Grand County, San Juan County, all counties. So that's not necessarily how they look at it, right? I mean, they, so
Well, that's what all this is about, is tempered expectations,
I'm
make
just-
sure we're clear
yeah,
out any
I'm just saying
misunderstandings
there's some
of who's what, where.
political aspects involved in that and a lot of button heads involved in that and which I'm going through right now, some of this stuff. You know, it's and there's some posturing going on,
Sure.
things of that nature,
Yeah,
which I'm not involved. I don't do that. But anyway,
So then,
Do you have a gap in between your data? I mean, you have a non-motorized committee, you have a roads committee, but you've got trails that are motorized trails. Do they fall in the roads? There's single track motorized, there's
motorized with.
width restriction motorized. Are they all within roads? Or is there a gap in what's being
That's,
watched here by the? county?
I think what you're asking is are there non-motorized access using motorized routes?
No, what I'm asking is you've got a committee here for non-motorized trails.
Mhm.
You've got roads, but then there's the motorized trails in between
which would be a road.
that are, who's
Single track motorcycle.
single track, who's monitoring that? Is
Well,
that an aspect, does that fall in as a
The-
road?
No, yeah, the motorized trails committee. We have a motorized.
There is
trails
a motorized
committee, yeah.
trails committee also.
Yes.
Okay.
And they work hand in hand with.
Yeah.
The road department,
Yeah.
and maybe,
And trails,
and trails, yeah.
Yeah, and they represent, you know, they even have a non-motorized member or person on the committee as well.
Yeah,
Do they have GIS data of trails?
that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think it would be beneficial to probably incorporate them into some of our product. You know what I'm saying, our final product. But many of them are already on
So,
our data that we have for our B and D roads.
exactly, that's what I was just gonna get, and just to kind of clarification, when we talk about roads, and this is always the hard part when we talk about roads, is that, and we should talk about BLM too, because we have some BLM routes out there too. From what I've understood, if it's a motorized route in Grand County, regardless if it's on BLM, whatever, that it should be in our road data set, because it should technically be a D route. Now, is there a single track motorized route that you can think of that is not?
Well,
in that?
a single track motorcycle route shouldn't be in a D road because a D road is a 2-track for a vehicle.
So can you give me an example of a motorized route that is single track?
Sovereign trails, the Enduro Loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's,
They're
Hundreds of miles.
designated,
So-
but that's the difference. They're designated as single track, but
It's
a motorcycle
open to motorized.
is open to motorized, exactly. Yeah.
And in these cases with, you're talking about Sovereign Trail and some of these others, are those not all on BLM land?
They're sovereign
sovereign
lands.
lands, state lands,
State,
BLM
yeah.
lands.
Not private county essentially.
There's some that can go cross private and you get a little, that gets dicey occasionally, but you know.
No, I mean,
Where there's a right of way.
it's
Yeah,
a
right
great
of way.
question. I don't participate in the motorist committee or otherwise. so
Yeah,
don't
I
know
think
how
there's
that set goes.
GIS data on those single tracks like sovereign trails.
Yeah.
Cliff-
I know it
think Cliff-
exists, I just didn't know if the county was also,
Not
because it's
really
probably not
tied
their
into that.
purview of
No.
protecting those as much as
Yeah,
other routes.
I think it's a good idea to be. if we're interested in motorized, I think it needs to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so then just to go back to, Dan, you brought it up, like with this GCAT, like I said, I put it on as a non-motorized master plan, so it's what I believe that they're working on. Is this UDOT grant specifically for non-motorized stuff? Do you know? Does anybody know?
It can be used for either. I think the way they wrote the grant was for non-motorized, but I think the grant itself is just a transportation planning grant, like they could have applied for roads, you know, it's just a transportation planning grant. It's done. So I don't think the grant money has restrictions on it.
Okay, so then what I'm probably gonna recommend here as we go through and look at.
I would just
These-
throw in there's
I'm
probably
gonna-
how the application was submitted, right?
Right. I mean, I would encourage them to include all trails.
All that I was gonna say is what I'm gonna do when we come to making or approving these committees is I'm gonna recommend to rename that committee. Just like GCAT transportation plan and not call it out as non-motorized. Or motorized or otherwise, and that way it's. Yeah, I'm just here to offer resources to it.
That might muddy the waters, exactly, one way of putting it.
Well, it's broad enough and I'm not specific enough to be able to be specific in it, so. I'd rather, for the sake of this, I mean, this is not a binding thing, it's not like anybody's gonna get their hands slapped for doing something wrong. But I'd rather, in the sake of calling something is or isn't, I'd rather take out
I
non-motorized.
guess my concern would be is there's some overlap into what already is, and then there's some interpretation from this particular grant money or exercise of this grant money.
Yeah, I do believe that's specific toward non-motorized trails. So as long as we're having a discussion that's not discussing that actual grant.
Hmm. That's all,
Yeah.
that's all I'm saying, is like, just this committee is just to look at what that effort is collectively
Okay,
and not to call it out.
Yeah,
okay,
And look, next time when we come to this whole thing, hopefully we'll have a much better explanation on maybe longer sense to
okay,
everything.
I got you.
That's why I'm suggesting to take that non-motorized part out. And probably include some sort of faction into the motorized trail committee too.
you could just insert another line that says. Trail master. Plan. Keep the non-motorized master plan item in there as a separate GCAT item.
So I get duplicit and less in the weeds. Let's talk about it. So, anyway, road data, like I said, it's all over with that committee. I'd like to be able to just do that exercise one more time. I did it with you back when we were looking at the tram plan 83 and and then took all that, we took the cities, we sent it all up to the state, they sent it back. And yeah, it's all motorized D. Navigable routes. I'm not sure if we veered off of that or what set we're totally on. I think we're on that one. But I'd just love to just get a separate set of eyes on it to make sure that we're all talking on the same data set.
Right, and I agree, I think there's some, I don't know about vagueness, I think there's some, I don't know what to call
I just want to.
it. I'm with you,
Just
just do that.
right, let's just get it out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The last one on here I put up was WISA collaboration. Ben, I know you're out and you're doing stuff and you're working. Again, this is just, I threw it on here as a suggestion of a committee if you don't want it to be one.
Well, I would say it's not just WIS, I would say utility collaboration. Because as you guys are, I mean, there's proprietary data that's not shared data, but it's useful for Dan and his engineering. It's like, even if you got Dominion and Emory Telecom and all of those, so as you're planning, you can see the available resources.
Sure. This is much more, and I would totally throw that into like a part of the data sharing
Yeah,
policy bit. This is really much more just ensuring that you have whatever resources you might need
Yeah,
to
well,
help get
I-
you going.
yeah, I mean, I'd like to be able to contact James because he's a good resource on how I do some things, because I'm not a GIS specialist at all. I do better with crayons. But
I like magic mark.
magic markers are good, or pencils even erase and start over. But he's helped me get going down a path, and I'm going to transition over to the GIS Pro. There's the account where he's more familiar with that, getting away from the desktop. But just the ability to call through you, of course, for assistance on occasion. I mean, down to with RTAS online, I don't know how to make somebody a map and clip it down. I'm like, okay, I just do a screen clip and send them that, and it has no data, it's just a PDF image. But that's kind of the stuff where I'm at, and I know that's more of the educational type stuff that you maybe have up there. But that's kind of the assistance I need, just some help clean up and
Clean up.
like that, yeah.
You wanted to get your field maps.
Build maps to where we can
Get a little more
collect
operational.
photo. Photo about stuff. One of the things that I think is county related for sure is our service area boundaries of the districts. Because your commission is appointing people into them, they ought to know the boundaries of those, and we don't currently have that. So that's something that if I hadn't asked from James, that would be one of the things would be to create those layers for us, and they might exist. We talked about it. We don't know.
There is.
There is the service district boundaries.
You can.
I can't find them on the AGRC's website.
Well,
I don't know, they
I mean, I
carry
guess
it.
old ones, I know new ones, they have to go through the, local entity plan. I've done a few for like the county boundary.
Have you? Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been able to find our service, because somebody like, it calls out the rim as part of the.
Yeah, I can speak to the old days, I don't know what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
Well,
nowadays they have to do
With the
it.
Moab Fire District doing this annexation, it'll be good time right now to see how that all,
Yeah, we had to
how
do
that
the
works.
Cane Creeks thing, we had to do.
Yeah,
Like,
that's right.
flat, it's what they recorded on.
Yeah,
So,
if it exists, I just don't know where, so
I
I
just want for the county, for the whole county, can't remember what now.
I have a legal description of it, but.
If you got a legal, we can help you with some stuff.
So it's legal description somewhere like those.
But I have a layer, but I don't know how old it is.
Yeah,
I have a layer for town.
Well, our boundaries haven't changed. I mean,
So with this collaboration, I'd be more than happy to have, you guys have these discussions, what I would like to see out of it is all of those pieces that you have too. But I'd like to see some sort of like an inventory, I guess, of what data you do have, maybe. It'd probably be very helpful to you. And you guys haven't done that exercise already.
we haven't done that, but I mean.
You know, I just wanna throw this out too, just so, James, you don't feel like you're getting overwhelmed with some of this stuff, we do have an opportunity to work through any of our, engineering firms of record. To use their resources, costs us some money,
Absolutely.
but just keep that in mind.
Well, that's part of why I'm having this is because all of the GIS monies and everything come through my budget. So if you guys want me to throw money into GIS professional services, I do have the line item in there for you to justify what it is.
Yeah.
So
Just
so far,
a thought.
I don't feel like I'm overloading you, James, but
No, I was kind of curious. In the past, what have we used engineering firms to do regarding like GIS stuff?
Nothing, we haven't,
Okay.
we haven't
Well,
utilized,
like
to speak of,
drainage stuff and.
Yeah.
LiDAR data interpretations and elevations, some of those, just.
Flood mapping.
but,
Yeah, flood mapping,
Okay.
but I mean,
data discovery.
but that was just like for master plans and things like that, not just your, your one-off stuff,
And this is just like I said, with WISA, and or any of our cooperating agencies, At one point, I wish I was able, I mean, I still wish I could. At one point, I was able to bring you guys into this licensing agreement. Which would have been great, because then like, it would be cheaper for everybody for one. But two, you know, it enables some of those abilities that we can do through like our GIS Online, or some of those discovery abilities that, you know, it doesn't take James a whole lot to be able to come in and say, okay, yeah, no, I'll do this. I just want to caution, I don't want to get into a situation to where it's, you know, he's coming and doing it for you.
Yeah.
More than happy to come, you know, lift you up and.
Right, show
And
some
help.
direction.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
And that's why I say first off is I would really go through and do a data discovery on what you do have.
Mhm.
Let's go through and back that up, and make sure that it's protected, and you know, kind of pragmatically look at it from there. Who all would you like on that committee? And again, it's all really just a matter of making sure you guys are up to speed, that you're getting.
I
that
guess
you
that
guys are
would mean
maxing.
initially be me, James, and probably you, so that you're, unless Didar wanted to be, so that we're
That's what I
bringing in
said.
the whole utility, because they come through us and vice versa.
And right, for right now, I do want to leave it just as a with a collaboration, because I just, again, I want to get you guys up to speed, make sure
Okay.
that we've got a good working group happening here. You know, utilities and otherwise, I'd like to think that, you know, those would be in touch with DRT meetings and planning zones and all the engineering pieces as they come up. But, and I do absolutely see the need to keep utilities in there, though, too.
It would be really cool to have a county infrastructure layer. Just all the real major players in one spot.
It would be cool. It's been something that we've talked about in the past of county capital infrastructure and what's where, who's there, what materials are there, how to access it. And then all the other infrastructure that goes along with it too, you know, critical systems, you know, fire hydrants. It's a great one to know, right? Where's shut off valves, pressure relief valves, you know, other stuff. It's.
And we have all of
you
that.
know,
We have,
it's a need to know kind of a basis,
Yeah.
like we don't want to go publishing that out to
Right.
everybody. But it'd be really cool to be able to have some sort of a you know, interactive piece that, yeah, we've updated this, and yeah, you can log into it, you can see the, if you have right credentials, but.
Ben, who helped you with the GIS then? Who's your
Google.
helper? So it's
Google.
like it's too bad because you have such a big data you're managing, and GIS is so
Yeah, we-
key for
we
your
don't have-
department.
yeah,
I think what you need is like a check what device you have, accuracy, training, and like which you're running, and then train a staff.
we're good as far as the device goes. We're hooked to the ERS network. We're collecting data with the Tremble unit. I mean, that stuff's good. It's the, what do we do with it after we've collected it?
Yeah,
Is where we struggle. We can collect it, put points all over the map, but
Yeah.
then what?
Well, I will put, Dieter, I'll put you on there as well, and, we'll follow up on this and. We'll get you all going in the right direction.
Okay.
I didn't put it on the agenda, I did anything else, I did reach out to anybody, Is there any other committees that through all this discussion that somebody may have popped up in their mind, like, hey, I was talking to you guys about that before, and. No,
So since we talked about publishing web apps, I have considered a web app that might be nice to have regarding like historic drainage corridors and ways so people can see. But we have to be careful about how we release that. They're on our stormwater master plan, but it's not an interact, it's just a static PDF thing that shows them on the ground, you know, so it would be good to have something. And I think that you've got the GIS data so that you could bring a layer up, but as far as like making a public facing thing, we need to put some thought into that.
and this is
For historic drainage ways, yeah, because people are supposed to be. What we're encountering with all these storms is that people have blocked them, people have rerouted them. And so it causes, you know, problems upstream, downstream for all these things, and we do have ordinances that say their function has to be maintained, but. Their location is. Yeah. But do you have like you want me to put in a formal request or form, or do we work through that together or
So right here, and again, this is just a like subcommittee kind of thing.
Good.
So this is basically a web app for historic drainages.
Mhm.
Would you like to be on that?
Name it historic and natural drainage.
Sounds like Bill wants to be.
Would be my recommendation.
Do you
Bill
think
wants to
we'd
be-
have to hunt down a lot of data, Dan, for that?
I think you have most of the data from the stormwater master plan. There probably are some things that we should add to
There's
that.
some
that's come-
inaccuracies there, there's some things
Right.
that don't show up there.
There's some changes that have been made since then that
Is that digitized or is it just PDF?
I believe you've got it as
Put
a,
it back to the old insurance to get.
well, no, somehow you got a layer in CAD, or I mean, in GIS.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is Dan, James, Bolts.
That's fine, yeah.
Does that work? Do you want to be on it, Lucas?
Lucas wants to be on.
Lucas loves drainage.
Does he love drainage?
He loves drainage.
No, but I mean, as the plats come through, it'd be good for him to have, see how they impact things and what that means.
Yeah, I have to get that stuff sometime. It seems like half of the.
Any-
Well, I think it's really important going forward for this stuff, because the buildable lots we're getting less and less, right? And it's just really gonna start impacting bigger and bigger and causing more and more problems if we don't get a handle on it right now. So,
Okay.
working into the future, for sure. You savvy that, William?
Cool.
Hey, I thought all night long, I thought about that speech right there.
If nobody has any other committee ones, just a quick review of training opportunities, look back in that Google share that I put in there. I put in November 2024 Esri links. For Utah region has a whole bunch of different training opportunities, things, different blog posts. Bunch of paid trainings, things about what to look at, Ben, possibly send some of your staff to. There's a number of, you know,
Me as the staff that plays around in Esri right now.
well, seriously, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, just getting some baseline stuff underneath,
Right.
if you've used ArcMap in the past and you're moving to Arc Pro, there's a lot of, you know, decent stuff that's out there, you know, that has some good documentation on it. I'm gonna spend a lot of time on training opportunities, unless anybody has anything that they know that's coming up, that might be worthwhile, note.
Esri has a great online platform. They call it their massively open online course catalog. And it just has an absurd amount of free classes that you can take, and it's all on your, most of them are just whenever you want to accomplish, do it in your own free time kind of thing. They have everything from very basic level beginner courses to more advanced spatial analyst kind of type things.
You guys might benefit from that.
It's actually free, that's.
Yeah, some of them you need a subscription, some of them are free, kind of gotta go through it, see what works for you based on your Esri subscription.
And I was gonna say, with our Esri subscription, that does grant you access to a whole bunch of training stuff in there that you have to be paid at the kind of price to get. There's still several that are instructor led that, you know, you're still gonna be paying a couple $1,000s for. But, if you don't, I think everybody around here has an Esri log. I'm not sure if you do, and nobody does.
I'm not sure if I do, I'd like to get one though, so I can do some of those.
Do I?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you do.
You know what it is?
No.
B Jackson _ GC.
It's gonna be one of those.
Let's use that.
Mine too.
If you don't have access, please shoot James and or I an email, and we can get you set up as a user
Okay,
in there.
I think you may have created one for me and I
I
just.
I
And
think
if it's been created, you have to reset your password like through their portal.
Right.
Yeah. Just getting sake of time, I'm not trying to belabor this whole thing.
Make your shape problem.
The next section here is impactful GIS projects. I think we've talked this through pretty well and what we've gone over. Unless anybody has anything else. No. So then, out of this would be just discussion out of all the stuff that we talked about. I know everybody's is most important. Is there any of this that stands out as a more important thing to the group? something else.
I thought getting WISA's infrastructure up and going on an interactive map sounded pretty important. Seemed like a good effort to work towards.
Yeah.
And
I'm good with that.
You support that.
I think, P and Z's, effort on, getting that all buttoned away is, gonna be a significant lift and, I wanna make sure that we're giving you whatever you need to be able to get that done, so, as it goes along, don't hesitate to reach out,
Thank you.
absolutely. And if you find yourself, again, between now and next quarter or something, needing some other resource or something, don't feel like this is the only place to talk about it.
Is P and Z's the primary map used, like the public facing map for the county with all of the data? I mean, I know that's the one I go to when I'm trying to.
And there are several maps published on our website, and the most PC answer I'm going to give you is that there's plenty of maps on our website, and they all have a disclaimer on them that you have to click on before you get to see the map.
Yeah.
That disclaimer goes over
Accuracy.
the accuracy and what's official, what's not.
Right, I guess where I was headed is it's centralized access point, or if they are the primary access point for the most usage. Of like tie in your records of surveys to the plat and the plat map and the corner cards to the plat through that same, where it's all one. Data set and you go in there and then you've got, okay, here's my parcel. And then, oh, there was a survey done, click on it, you can click on that and you access.
That'd be cool. That'd be like getting, that'd be a lot of work, but that'd be getting all the log counties. You can click on the parcel map and
That's getting,
their warranty deed comes up too.
that's the
So
online.
that's
Warranty deed.
And so I was gonna say, Gina, I think your effort is, significant as well.
Yep, 100%.
And to her end, we've asked for $150,000 in our capital for next year to try to push out. It's on base, and without calling it on base, I don't know what to call it. It's a file repository type of system, so.
I have an update for that though. I just right before this meeting, I got on the phone with John Singer.
So don't at this meeting,
Not at this meeting.
not this meeting, just wanted to say that your effort and the committee are doing that is gonna be awesome.
Okay.
And I can't wait to have a good report on
Let's
that
do it.
next quarter.
Yeah, I'd like to see that too, so I'll probably need to come.
So again, the technical committees and things that we're talking about here, you guys meet as needed, they're asynchronous, there's no formality to those things. If they're emails, if they're phones, it's just please work with your groups and, work to get through and give us an update next time.
Mine again.
What's that?
You're on all
All
of them, Bill.
of them,
I'll-
all 39 of them.
I'll send this all back out to you guys, with my notes here, after kind of go through it. Action items really quick, just to wrap all this up, guys. Creating project technical committees. Just in the sake of, like I said, the over formality of what this thing is. The first piece is creating project technical committees. I would entertain a motion from somebody to create the technical committees based on the informally adopted committees that we just discussed.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Bill.
absolutely.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill. And I guess.
You need a second?
Yes, please. Or we can just go home. That's
Bill
fine.
motioned and Bill seconded, I think.
Okay, so it's seconded by Bill.
Uh-huh.
You need to differentiate.
Before we vote on this, is there any discussion? I'll just briefly
Interchangeable.
recap what we are doing is that we are
Sometimes.
creating policy committees for P and Z zoning administration, CAD grid map, GCAT, not gonna say non-motorized. It's a GCAT travel plan.
Trouble. Master plan.
I do I want to keep master in there? I'm just gonna say travel plan.
trouble.
Is everybody okay with that terminology? GCAT travel plan,
Trail.
and I'm gonna put in parentheses trails. So, cool. Road
Grand
What's that?
County.
active trails and transportation.
Active trails and transportation.
We'll do a road data source review. And with some collaboration. Lucas, you made a mention on questions on maintained road data. I think that you got a question on answer, or we can figure that out, unless you want a separate committee for that.
No, I just didn't know who to go to.
Okay. So again, it'd be creating the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 subcommittees. Zoning, CAD, motion by Bill, seconded by Bill. Anybody have anything to discuss?
I highly encourage everyone, if you need help with GIS, to reach out with me if you're part of a policy committee or a technical committee. 'Cause I'm part of all of them, so I need a little poking sometimes to point me in the right direction as well, so.
I've heard you
matter-
got GIS chops.
I got GIS chops.
It is true.
This is
Alright.
Summit County's GIS guy,
Yeah, you two got
Yeah.
it. Do you know that? Do you know him too?
Jeff Ward, he's a great GIS guy.
No, I'm just reading.
Cool, so everybody in favor, say aye. Aye. Everybody's voting. Anybody opposed? Cool. The other one is dissolving project technical committees. I don't think we're at a point to dissolve any of the committees, because no, they're all still working. Unless somebody wants to dissolve something. Done. Fourth quarter priority schedule. And this is just really not. But we had all kind of agreed that we're gonna do P and Z and. What's the thing? But not Gino's stuff.
Not right away.
That should be first and foremost.
It's under the radar.
No.
Isn't there a new like statewide standards committee that just put something out?
But I'm saying recorder and then slash web apps, because there are several web apps that are being talked about that we kicked around. Future meeting date, supposed to be every quarter. So this is gonna be probably February. Or March. Does that sound right, Quinn?
Yep. Before the end of the
Is there anything end of February into March that people know they're gonna be gone for? When's the legislative session?
March is fine. Won't be busy on Valentine's Day.
Do I do Valentine's Day? It's Friday.
No.
You don't
It's
know.
the best day for
You
me.
don't know dates for me, you know?
No.
That's a ways down the road.
So these are typically Tuesdays. We're gonna do kind of what I've been doing. You guys okay with Tuesday, the 18th of February?
No, that's okay.
Nope.
Okay, so then
We left to the 25th.
the 25th. Let's do the 25th. That work? Switch
25th.
between planning commission and economic opportunity?
Sure.
Sure.
At 10, you said?
10 o'clock, yeah.
That's the same, we have a DRT meeting.
Mm,
You have a dirt meeting on that day?
Unless
That's the
old
regular
schedule.
schedule, but
Their schedule,
I can't
Is
tell.
that the regular schedule?
rounds?
I can't tell if it's older than anyone.
It's hard to say if we actually are gonna meet.
Mm,
So. Is that good or not?
Well, there could be a conflict with dirt, is what you're saying.
That's I get, that's what I'm asking, like, do you want me to move this to a different date?
No, maybe a different time.
What about
Yeah.
two P.M. on
Yeah,
the
that'll work.
25th? That 1 p.m. 3 p.m.
2 p.m.
Anytime
Two, if you guys
afternoon.
wanna do 2 o'clock. But, I would ask that we don't come in with a bunch of food hangovers.
That's why you go at 2. Maybe everybody should have
Food thing.
had their nap by then.
Hopefully. So that'll be 25th, 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
PM. Yeah. Good. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you.
Very welcome. We don't need a motion to adjourn anymore, I don't think so. You adjourn.